Welcome to Totally Online Gaming Group's very first episode of our new show called Let's Talk About. For this first episode, I had the privilege of going to the main base of operations for Critical Hit Gaming Supplies, meeting one of their owners, Yisley, and recording as she unboxed their new EPAX X133 3D printer with the 4K monochrome screen. I also got to learn a ton about 3D printing, and I hope to be able to share that knowledge with all of you. So without further ado, here's Yisley as she begins to unbox their newest addition to their miniature making arsenal. As you can see, the box itself is fairly large. This whole thing weighed approximately 90 pounds shipped, and was kind of a beast to move. But she manages to get the first portions of the box open, and as you can see inside, there is a second box. So in this second box, we also have at each of the corners these styrofoam corner protectors. There's also some plastic corner protectors in there. You can kind of see that black one right there she removed. This is all to protect this extremely awesome and delicate, sensitive piece of machinery that is the EPAX X133. Inside the interior box is the manual for the unit and a tube with sheets of NFEP. Upon opening the inner box, we find inside that it is layered with styrofoam to protect the actual 3D printer inside, and we can see that it is wrapped completely around with shrink wrap as we remove the styrofoam pieces that are going to protect it from any dings and bumps during shipping. Here you can see the size of this 3D printer. It is a beast. Also notice that, as mentioned before, this thing was completely wrapped around in a shrink wrap and had a contact paper that is over the front glass so that it protects the glass as well as the rest of the machine. And you can see Yisley here opening it up so that we can eventually get a nice look inside the unit. Okay, as she opens it up, it is completely stuffed with styrofoam, even has some styrofoam and more contact paper on the inside of the glass, again to provide protection. And some of these styrofoam pieces actually have things like the vat in there, as well as the build plate, and some of the other tools you're going to need. Now that we've got all the styrofoam out of the unit, we can take a closer look at the inside of the unit. So in the bottom is where the vat will go, and you can see the guide rail that the build plate will be attached to and ride upon so that it can be raised up and down as needed for your printing. So let's take a closer look at the build plate. Here's the build plate. You can see it wrapped in its styrofoam as well as shrink wrap to protect it. And let's take a look at it out of the packaging here. You can see Yisley holding the build plate. And here is the vat, again wrapped in plastic to protect it. So now let's take a look at some of the tools. So here we have our power cord right here. There's some gloves in here. There's some scraping tools, one for the vat, one for the build plate. We also have some Allen wrenches, which are going to become very important so we can look inside the unit. There's two different sizes of Allen wrenches. You also have to make sure to remove the film off the front of the touch display for your controls, as well as the contact paper that is on the inside of the main glass window so that you can actually see into the unit when it's printing. Now let's take a quick look at the exterior of the unit. Down here on the side you can see a port for the fan. There's one fan on each side. We can see the one there, as well as on the back we have this cover. And on the other side is the other fan. Additionally, on this side is where your power cord is going to plug in, as well as the on-off button, and there are two ports, a USB port and a port for an Ethernet cable. Now let's take a look inside. In order to look inside, we'll have to use these two Allen wrenches. This first Allen wrench over here, the larger one, is going to be for the bottom cover. This smaller Allen wrench, or thinner Allen wrench, is going to be for the back cover. And then we have what at first I think are some extra screws just in case you need them. And then our scraper for the vat. Using the smaller of the Allen wrenches, there are 6 screws you need to remove to open the back cover. This is looking inside the back cover. In here you can see the side fan over there, and there's another side fan over here. This is the heatsink, and there are 2 fans underneath that, for a total of 4 fans for this entire unit. The bottom cover of the unit has 8 screws, 4 of them have feet on them that you need to use the larger Allen wrench for. Looking inside that back cover, you will see several different things. Again, you can see the side fan on the right. And as we look across this unit, we can see towards the back the underside of the heatsink and the 2 fans. You can kind of see the fan blades through there. As we continue moving over towards the left-hand side, we can see down near the bottom are the connection points for the Ethernet cable and the USB cable, and then out of the top, the red wires are for the power supply. Here's a closer look at the fan and the heatsink, kind of behind all this other equipment here, the support plate, etc. After putting the bottom and back covers back on, the EPAX X133 was moved to its new home, next to its smaller brother, the EPAX X1. Yisley's husband can be seen prepping the printer so that the build plate can be attached and the vat installed. The unit starts with the build plate support at the bottom position, and it is then raised up so that we can easily install the build plate. As you can see, the build plate simply slides onto its support, and then is secured with the threaded knob to ensure it is stable within the printer. Next, the build plate was moved up so that it would be out of the way for us to prep and install the vat. Once the build plate is far enough out of the way, it is easy to install the threaded fasteners that will be used to secure the vat in place in the lower part of the printer. Before installing the vat, we had to remove a protective film layer from the glass in the bottom of the printer. It took a little effort to get an edge to come up enough to begin peeling the film layer away, but once we got it going, it came off easily. Next, we continued to raise the build plate, this time all the way to the top position. Total travel time is approximately 2 minutes for it to travel fully from the bottom position all the way to the top position. Here you can see both the EPAX X133 and the EPAX X1 side by side. The X133 is huge in comparison. The outer dimensions of it look to be almost twice that of the X1, in length, width, and height. We even did a measurement to check the distances from the bottom of the build plate when it's at its top position to the vat when it's installed. The X133 measured around 14 inches and the X1 around 5, so almost 3 times larger for the X133. A little trick I learned about at this point was to use Rain-X on the vat. This is apparently to help prevent suction. Once the preps were finished, the vat was installed in the printer. It slides in very easily and is then secured with the threaded fasteners. Now it was time to fill it with the resin. This is the resin being used. It is a 1 kilogram bottle, and as you can see, it pours very easily, and the vat can contain the entire bottle's worth of resin. It was also a simple process to empty the vat and return the resin to the bottle. We used a funnel to make it easier to pour without making a mess. The process can be done with just one person if needed, but is much easier with 2 people. Also, make sure to use the yellow scraper that is for the vat to remove all excess resin from the vat without scratching the bottom. At this point, we refilled the vat in the EPAX X133 and filled the vat in the EPAX X1. This is so that we can have both printers ready for us to do a comparison print and test the quality and speed of both machines. Before we get to that, we also wanted to see how level the build plate was, so we grabbed a level and gave it a test. It was absolutely perfect. So now we were almost ready to print, but first we had to input the settings of the new printer into the modeling program. These here are the starting settings right from the book that came with the printer. We put those settings into the modeling program and then picked a high detail, high quality model designed by Brian Ferrate that we wanted to use to test the X133's capabilities and to do as much of a comparison print versus the X1 with the same model as we could. Due to the length of time it takes to print these models, we ran out of time today to see the finished products from both machines. But I'm going back as soon as they are done so that we can take a look at these models and compare them. We'll take a look at that in another episode, but for now, let's get this print started. I installed a decibel meter on my phone through an app just to show you what the background noise levels were in the room without the machine operating, which seems to be about 28-29 decibels. Time to start the very first print on the EPAX X133, and from what I was told the process is the same as it is for the EPAX X1. So here usually goes for that first print. And there it is, we are officially off to the races. If you look close, you can notice how the top of the build plate is angled. I was told this reduces the amount of resin that remains on top of the build plate, as it's easier for it to flow back into the vat. Another thing to note is that the movement of the build plate from the top until it gets all the way into the vat and submerged in the resin takes about 2 minutes and 15 seconds. As you can see, with the machine actually running, the decibels hover around 48-49, so still not very loud even with the machine running. Well, that's going to be it for this video. We will be putting out another video about the EPAX X133 within the next day or two, so that we can show you a comparison between a high detail, high quality print on it versus the same high detail, high quality print using the EPAX X1. We'll compare how long each print took, look at which printed better, and more. So if you have questions you want answered, don't forget to put it in the comments of this video so that we can do our best to address it in the next videos. If you liked this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and check out the other great stuff that we do, like our D&D 5th edition livestream every Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on our Twitch channel, or our Tailspire builds. Hope to see you again soon. Bye.